When you think of difficult riffs, I don't think that too many folks will mention AC/DC. The majority of their repertoire consists of seemingly easy rock riffs, mainly built on major chords or power chords, played with a lot of groove. And I say seemingly easy because there's always some little elements that make it harder to deliver with the right intensity than most people think. But the next riff is probably AC/DC's most difficult riff out there. Many of my students struggle with it and will learn that almost all tabs out there get it totally wrong, and that even Angus himself can struggle with it, and sometimes I'm struggling too. I'm showing you all the things you need to know to nail this riff, so let's get to it. And of course I'm talking about the riff Thunderstruck. So I guess this is what happens when you get an SG, you play AC/DC, of course. So as you might have noticed, this riff is entirely played on one string, the B string. The second string, we call that, in a key of B major. And I've got a lot of things to say about this riff, but I first want to address the biggest misconception about it. When we take a look at the number 1 rated tab, but also number 3, number 4 and number 5, we see that it is notated with pull-offs and hammer-ons. It's the little P and H symbols used in the tab. This means we hit the string once in the beginning, and from there on out we exclusively use our fretting hand to play the entire riff. And that's really doable since it's not a very complicated pattern. And on top of that we see clearly that Angus Young is doing it like this in a video clip. But everyone who has ever played a guitar just knows that what we hear on the album is the attack of a pick, meaning no hammer-ons and pull-offs. Let's have a listen. Let's slow it down. I mean, the clunkiness, the click, click, click of the attack is clearly audible. Listen. I mean, that is clearly a nut. And here's even the legend himself explaining what happened.
It started like a one-handed, you know. So it started that way, you know, and then you'd end up,
So it started off as a legato exercise and ended up as an alternate picking riff. Pretty cool how some classic riffs started out as exercises, right? So here's the thing, I totally get that the rock pose in the video makes it all worth it, but what's actually funny is that it's actually a lot harder to pick this riff than to play it legato. Legato means playing it with hammer-ons and pull-offs. So that really makes me wonder what the folks who made these tabs were doing at the time of writing them. We can surely tell they weren't listening. Now, of course, when you cover this song, feel free to do it however you like. I mean, there is no wrong way to cover a song, let me be clear. But the tab should be what the guitarist is playing and not like an interpretation of the author. Anyway, let's move on. So this is a riff based on a pattern of 16th notes, which means we play 4 notes in one beat. 1E, and D2E, and D3, and D4E. And it alternates between a fretted note and an open string. Always. So it starts on the D sharp, fret 4 on the B string, then an open string, followed by fret 7 on the B string, and then an open string again. So we got this little group of 4 notes that just repeats well, not indefinitely, but it feels like it. And did you know that these 3 notes played together form the B major chord, B, D sharp, and F sharp. Da, da, da. B, D sharp, F sharp. So we're basically playing the B major arpeggio. It's pretty cool, right? But how do we get that speed though? Well, I've got a totally weird trick that really helps me nailing this riff. So for my fretting hand, I'm touching the bottom of the neck with the knuckle of my index finger, this little bump over here. So this way, my hand is always at the same distance from the frets, which really gives me some anchoring feeling, like my hand is grounded to the body. We need to be in contact with the instrument always, and this really helps. So like this. You see, I'm just holding my hand here, like it's glued to the neck. So this really makes sure the timing is right and my hands are fretted and unfretted, I guess, at the right timing. For the picking hand, make sure you do the following. So it's all alternate picking, so it's down, up, down, up, always. And really focus on the picking hand not being too stressed. It needs to be really relaxed. You need to be just super chill and comfy. And this is the thing, definitely do not pick too hard. And here's a cool trick. Here you see me getting my hand a little closer than usual, giving me more control over the pings, making sure I can keep it steady. So instead of this, try bring it a little bit closer. An exercise I really suggest everyone does is playing all the notes 4 times at first, like this. Gradually speed up. And then play each note 2 times. And gradually speed up. And then, of course, you play the real thing, every note 1 time. And there you have it, the riff. Well, this is just the beginning. But it should feel like you can play this song or this riff just forever. So playing it with a good technique is really essential if you don't want to cramp up halfway. So with this method, I really feel like I can play indefinitely. Yeah, what? I hate to be that guy, but you're clearly missing something. All the tabs on the internet start with an open B string. Yeah, okay. I was coming to that just now. So the riff doesn't start on beat 1 actually. It doesn't what? Yeah, okay, so it starts with an open B string just before beat 1. 1 E and D, 2 E and D, 3 E and D, 4 E and A. So when this happens, we call it an anacrusis or a pickup bar or a pickup note. So here's the riff without that pickup bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's missing the first B string. So the easiest way to think of it is to just play the open B string with an upstroke right before that first beat. And now it's easy to feel the downbeat on that 4th fret, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's not, well, how do you call it? Super easy. There's a few videos where even Angus clearly has trouble getting the first few notes in time. It could be a difficult monitoring situation, so he doesn't hear it it all that well, so he has struggled finding the one. Or he was just rocking out too much and didn't care for it. Neither should we, of course. The man is an absolute legend, but this just goes to show that you don't have to feel bad if it isn't always 100% right. Here's a few f***ups of me. But in all seriousness, these tabs, what's the deal with them? Let's take a look at this one. This just hurts my eyes. If you're learning this song and you see this, it's wrong on so many levels. And I don't care for wrong tabs at all, wrong notes, I don't care. But it's written down in such a dumb manner that makes learning or understanding this riff so much more difficult. And tabs can be helpful, but they are supposed to be a learning aid and not make learning more difficult. It shows a group of 5 notes that you repeat 8 times. That should sound like this. That's some real prog shit, mate. But also the bar line suggests that the open B string is the first beat. But it should be, well, I would, like this. This brings me back to age 14, writing tabs in Notepad. That's just so much better. Anyway, the same goes for the best rated version on the website. I mean, 5 stars. That means immaculate, perfect, no mistakes. You see, the bar again starts off with the open B string, or at least that's what the bar line suggests. So AC/DC is a band about rhythm, about getting the timing right. So at least notating that properly, well, that really helps. Anyway, let's move on. Enough bitching about tabs. The riff moves up, shifting the frets a half step up the neck, like fret 5 and fret 8. And this is actually an E minor arpeggio. E, G, and B. So the lead guitar in the intro actually plays a B major arpeggio and then an E minor arpeggio, which is not your everyday chord progression, but it just sounds very cool. It's, well, pretty dope. But I don't really think that Angus saw it that way or thought about it like this. It just makes a very sinister sound, that B major next to that E minor. You play that twice, like both patterns 8 times, like let's do it. And then we jump to fret 12 on the B string for the B section of this riff. And now from fret 12 we descend and sit tight via the Mixolydian mode. So that's these notes. That's the Mixolydian scale or the Mixolydian mode I'm playing. And Mixolydian is what they call like the major scale of rock. It isn't as cheesy as the regular major mode, but it still has that optimistic and energetic feel of the major scale. So this is your typical Mixolydian sound, if you will. That vibe, you know what I mean? The energetic, but it sounds still pretty major. Minor would be. And just regular major would sound like something like... just way more, well, cheesy, right? So you can either see B Mixolydian as the E major scale, but then played in the context of B. Or you can see it as the major scale with a flattened 7th degree. So a regular major scale, Mixolydian major scale. So the difference is this note. And guess what? We use that major scale, the Mixolydian one, in AC/DC. Probably in most AC/DC songs. So we play this pattern. And then in between we play open strings. One, two, three, four. So this should pretty much give you all the ingredients to get very close to original recording, but we need to address one little element, and that is the tone. So many folks are dialing in way too much gain. AC/DC never plays with a lot of gain. On the contrary, it's way less than you think probably. Too much gain just destroys all the punch and the attack of the sound, really. It gets muddy and will never sound as awesome and as tight as the original. So get a generic Marshall sound. I've got a super lead over here and I just dialed the gain a lot back. Like this is the standard preset. So it isn't a bad sound, but let's listen to the original track. And I'll compare mine to it. You see, it doesn't sound very much alike. So if I dial back the gain, pretty much to... But now let's compare. I mean, it's not as good as Angus. You can never get as good as Angus, but we try to get close. And also be careful with dialing in too much reverb. It's also a very dangerous thing to do for playing AC/DC. Anyway, I think this covers almost everything. If you're interested in watching more about this guitar, my new guitar, I made a video about it. Link is over here, so you can check it out. So let me know in the comment section which riffs we should check out next in this series. I'm loving it so far. So if you love it too, make sure by hitting that like button gently and leave your comment, and I catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.